Okay. So a very good afternoon, everyone. Hello. How are you all? Yes, I'm very good. Thank you. Hope you are doing fine. So guys, today we are in chapter 2, unit 3, the name of which is supply. I will request you all to please revise demand and supply together, because most if not all concepts are interrelated for the same, right? And that's why I am believing in the fact that if you read demand and supply together, your efforts will be halved. Because you see, in demand we have understood concepts like factors affecting demand. In supply we will study the same factors affecting supply. In demand there was concept of movement and shift. In supply there is a concept of movement and shift. In demand there was a concept of elasticity and associated sums. In supply there is a concept of elasticity and associated sums, simply meaning that there is a lot to understand and there is a lot to learn, but at the same time things are quite common. So if you are able to find out that commonality in that demand and supply points, your efforts will be halved. You will be able to score both in half the efforts. Okay, so having said that, let's attack our topic for the day, supply. Is it easy, sir? It's very easy. My dear friends, in case of demand, I told you one thing. What? That whenever you think of demand, you think of whose point of view? You think from whose point of view? Absolutely correct. In case of demand, you think from consumer's point of view. So my dear friends, in case of supply, you will have to think from producer's point of view. In case of demand, you think from consumer's point of view. In case of supply, you will have to think from producer's point of view. So the first learning for the day is in this chapter, always think what is good for the producer. Think from producer's point of view. Think from producer's POV. POV means point of view. So my dear friends, I'll summarize it in Hindi. मैंने अभी आप लोगों को बताया कि इस चैप्टर को, सप्लाई को जब आप पढ़ोगे, डिमांड के साथ पढ़ना, क्योंकि दोनों इंटर रिलेटेड है. जैसे आप डिमांड में कंज्यूमर के साइड से सोचते थे, सप्लाई में आप प्रोड्यूसर के साइड से सोचिए. ओके, सो इन केस ऑफ सप्लाई विल हैव टू थिंक फ्रॉम द प्रोड्यूसर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. नाउ मूविंग ऑन सर, द बिगेस्ट क्वेश्चन दैट कम्स इनटू योर माइंड इज, सर व्हाट इज सप्लाई? Please pay attention. I'll give an example also. So please pay attention, everyone. Okay, the question is, what is supply? Pay attention, everyone. So my dear friends, supply is a quantity of commodity. Supply refers to the quantity of a commodity which the producers are willing to bring to the market for sale. Which the producers are willing to bring to the market for sale. Bring to the market for sale at a particular price at a particular point of time. At a particular price at a particular point of time. Sir, similar was the case of demand also, right? You told at a particular price at a particular point of time in demand as well. Absolutely bang on correct. Same here, at a particular price at a particular point of time. Sir, can you give us an example? Yes, my dear friends, I'll give you an example. And also I want you to understand something, that this word stock and supply are two different concepts. Stock versus supply are two different concepts. Everything will be clear. Pay attention, everybody. Everything will be clear. Pay attention, everyone. So let's say here is a person, here is a producer, here is a supplier. Let's say we call him Mr. A. Let's call him Mr. A. Right? Now, my dear friends, Mr. A is a supplier of a product. Okay? In his godown, let's say, in his godown, he has got, let's say, 1000 units of bags, leather bags or whatever bags you want to say. Let's say 1000 unit of bags. Now it is a time of COVID. Let's say it is a time of COVID. Okay, schools are closed. So the children don't have much need for bags, right? Because they are not traveling, they are at homes, right? So COVID is going on. Now because of this, let's say, since the demand for bag is limited, the price of bag that is prevailing right now is, let's say, rupees 800 per bag. Let's say. Now out of this 1000 units, let's say the producer at this 800 rupees per bag, producer is not very happy because the price is too low. Producer is willing to sell to the market at only, let's say, out of this 1000 units, 200 units only. Now pay attention everyone. Bag is something that can be stored for future. So the plan of producer is that he will sell in the post COVID period the other bags. He, as of now, he can only sell 200 units. So my dear friends, please pay attention. Though he has 1000 units in the godown, at the current price level, at the current point of time, that is during the COVID time, at the current price level and at the current time period, that is the COVID times, my dear friends, he is ready to sell only 200 units. This is called supply. Just because there are 1000 units available doesn't mean that these 1000 units are the supply. So the remaining 800 units, we would call it as stock. So stock is something which the producers have but are not willing to sell at the current price, while supply is something which the producers have and are willing to sell at the current price at the current point of time. So my dear friends, that's the crucial difference between stock and supply. In both the cases, goods are available, but in case of supply, there is a willingness on the part of producer to bring it to the market for sale. But in the case of stock, the producer's willingness is to rather save it for the future and to sell it in the future at a higher price. That is the logic. My dear friends, is the concept crystal clear of what is supply? My point was to just clarify what is supply. Is it crystal clear? Come on everybody. Okay, so let's ask you a question and find out whether you have been able to understand or not what supply is. Okay, so let's ask you an MCQ. Okay, supply refers to quantity of commodities which producers are willing to sell. Option A, at a particular price. B, at a particular point of time. C, both A and B. D, none. What say friends? Come on everybody. What do you think will be your answer? Come on everybody. A, B, C or D. Supply refers to quantity which producers are willing to sell, number 1, at a particular price. B, particular point of time. C, both A and B. D, none. What do you think is the correct option, guys? Come on everybody. Yes, so it's great to see that everybody who has listened has been able to answer the question absolutely bang on correct. The correct answer is point C, because when we talk about supply, we are not only talking about price, but we are also talking about point of time. You see, we had been referring to the COVID period again and again because it's a point of time. Post COVID, the scenario may change. And it's amazing to see everybody has given correct answer. Very good, yeah. Moving on. So the fact that you have understood supply now, let me make sure that you know 3 points about it absolutely clearly. In the institute's first page also, they have mentioned this 3 points, which is amazingly written. So I'll explain the 3 points. One after the other. Pay attention everyone. Number 1, supply shows the readiness to sell. Or willingness to sell. Just because you are having a product doesn't mean it will tantamount to supply. Until and unless, I repeat, until and unless you have the willingness to sell, it won't be covered under the definition of supply. Point number 1. Point number 2, only willingness is not enough. Just because you are willing doesn't mean anything. You also should have the ability to supply. Suppose the supplier doesn't have enough stock only, so how the hell will he supply more? So there it is. And number 3 is, guys, remember very important point, supply is a flow concept. A very important MCQ question. I need everybody to write down in the chat. Supply is a flow concept. If you don't know what is a flow concept, I'll explain that to you. But first of all, need everyone to write it down. What is supply? Supply is a flow concept. Come on, everyone. Okay, I'll explain it in Hindi again. But first of all, let's see whether you are clear or not. Yes, sir. Okay. So what are the 3 points here? Number 1, readiness to sell. Number 2, willingness plus ability. Number 3, supply is a flow concept. Supply is a flow concept. Supply is a flow concept. Okay, sir. So first let me summarize it in Hindi and then we will discuss what is the meaning of the term flow concept. Okay. So friends, अभी तक हम लोग जो पढ़े हैं, हम लोग सप्लाई का मीनिंग पढ़े. सप्लाई का मतलब होता है कितनी क्वांटिटीज एक प्रोड्यूसर बाजार में लाकर बेचने को तैयार है, एक पर्टिकुलर प्राइस पर, एक पर्टिकुलर समय पर. सप्लाई को इस बात से लेना देना बिल्कुल नहीं है कि आपके पास गोडाउन में कितना स्टॉक पड़ा हुआ है, बिकॉज उसको स्टॉक बोलते हैं. सप्लाई तब अपने बोलेंगे जब प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में आने को तैयार होगा एट अ पर्टिकुलर प्राइस एट अ पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. ठीक है ना. सप्लाई के बारे में 3 चीजें हैं. पहला, सप्लाई होने के लिए रेडीनेस टू सेल चाहिए, मतलब आप तैयार हो बेचने के लिए. नंबर 2, तैयार होने के साथ साथ आपकी कैपेसिटी भी है कि आप उतना बेच सको. और तीसरा, इट इज अ फ्लो कॉन्सेप्ट. ठीक है ना. अब नाउ सर, लेट्स कम टू द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द टर्म फ्लो कॉन्सेप्ट. नाउ लेट्स talk about what is the meaning of flow concept. Okay, pay attention everyone. Supply is a flow concept. So what do you mean by the term flow concept, sir? I'll tell you guys. My dear friends, flow concept means something which is described per unit of time. Basically, per unit of time. Basically, when I say, for example per year, per week, etc. Let's say for example, Reliance Industries is supplying let's say 2 tons of oil per week. So here I am referring to a time period, with reference to a time period, that is supply. But when we don't talk about per unit of time, when you are talking about point of time, that is called a stock concept. That is called a stock concept. Sir, can you give an example? Yes. Let me ask you all right now, what is it that you are having while you are doing this class? You might tell that, sir, I have a pencil, I have a pen, I have a material, institute material, and I have a copy with me. If you're telling this, that is your stock. What you have now. If you ask me, sir, what you are having now, I'll tell you that I have a pen, I have a watch, and then I'm wearing this shirt and pant. So now what I'm trying to tell you all is, stock talks about what you have at a particular point of time, full stop. It may change the next moment immediately, but supply talks about a per unit of time. Like when you make PL account, profit and loss account, you tell it is for the year, right? You tell it is for the year. Exactly my point. So profit and loss is a flow concept, but balance sheet you prepare on a particular date. So balance sheet talks about stock concept. But yes, I have just tried to relate it, but overall you have to remember is supply is a flow concept. Okay. So yes, my dear friends, let me give you another MCQ to check whether the understanding has been perfect or not. Okay, let's see. Question is, supply is a dash concept. A, static. B, flow. C, stock. D, none. What say, guys? What do you think should be your answer? Come on everybody, I need every friend to answer this yaar. Fatafat yaar. Okay, so it's amazing to see that the answers are absolutely correct. Supply is indeed a flow concept. Supply is indeed a flow concept. So you all are absolutely correct in saying the same. Okay. Now moving on, my dear friends, our next heading is determinants of supply, also called as factors affecting supply. Just like we studied factors affecting demand, if you all remember. Similarly, we are studying here factors affecting supply. Okay, so let's start. Factors affecting supply. Factors affecting supply, or also called as factors affecting supply, or also called as determinants of supply, or also called as determinants of supply. Determinants of supply. So let's have a look here. Come on everybody, let's see. Let's talk about the same. Let's talk about the same. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead. Pay attention, everybody. Now, friends, when we talk about factors affecting determinants of supply or factors affecting supply rather, the first point that crops up in mind is price of own commodity. Now guys, when I say own commodity, there is an intention behind the same. Please pay attention, everybody. You all tell me guys, if price of a commodity will rise, you all tell me guys, if price of a commodity will rise, what will happen to the supply? What do you think? What will happen to the supply? Come on everyone. Okay, go ahead. Very good. Price of own commodity. Now you see, you think from a supplier's perspective. If the product's price is rising, your profit margin will rise. See, whenever we study one factor, जब भी अपने किसी एक फैक्टर को स्टडी करते हैं तो अपने बाकी फैक्टर्स को कांस्टेंट मानते हैं. आप लोग समझिए, अगर एक प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस बढ़ेगा तो जो प्रोड्यूसर है उसको तो और मजा आएगा ना, क्योंकि प्रॉफिट बढ़ने वाला उसका. सो क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड क्या होगा? बढ़ेगा. सो यस माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, द करेक्ट आंसर इज राइज. So there is a direct relationship here. What did I say? There is a direct relationship. Sir, in this regard, I'll also want to draw the supply curve for you all. Pay attention, everyone. This is for normal commodities only. Don't talk about exceptions, okay? Exceptions is a separate head we will discuss. But here, don't talk about exceptions, okay? Normal commodities. So price, quantity supplied, okay? Now, friends, what is happening is, if price is this, quantity supplied is this, but as soon as price rises, the profit margin rises, inducing the supplier or the seller to supply more, and therefore it shifts like this. Therefore you can see, if you draw this curve, if you join them, you'll see something like this, you'll see something like this. But that's it. This is the supply curve that we are talking about. And yes, there is a direct relationship, as I have mentioned you at the very beginning of the class. So yes, is it upward sloping? Yes, it's upward sloping. Is it upward sloping? Yes, it's upward sloping. Everybody, yes. It's also called a positive curve or a positive sloping curve. So both the words are absolutely correct in this perspective. In this regard, both the words are absolutely clear. So number one is price of own commodity. So when I say price of own commodity, I mean कि जब प्राइस बढ़ेगा प्रॉफिट मार्जिन बढ़ेगा, क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ेगा. डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप है. व्हेनेवर वी से डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप, इट मींस वन राइजेस, other will rise, one falls, the other will fall. Full stop. I hope it's crystal clear, everyone. Okay. And always remember, we take other factors to be constant. So when we are talking about price and supply, we will only talk about price and supply. We will not talk about other commodities as such. This other factors remaining constant in another language is called ceteris paribus. This ceteris paribus basically means other factors remaining constant. We have come through this word in the case of demand as well. It means other factors remain constant. So that is ceteris paribus, to be exact, friends. Okay, sir. Great. So number one was price of own commodity. Why? Because if price rises, profit margin will rise, and naturally inducing you to sell more. You means a producer. Okay. Number two, price of other goods. Now guys, pay attention. I'll give you an example. Okay. Price of other goods. I'll give you an example. Let's say friends, you are in a particular business of, let's say, manufacturing bags, leather bags. You are in the business of manufacturing leather bags. You are in the bags business, okay? You get to hear it from the market. You are getting to hear it from the market that price of leather belts is rising right now. People have started going out, so they need belts and everything. So leather belts, price has started rising. Guys, as a producer, what will your intention be? To make more profits. How? By shifting to production of leather bags. So what is happening here is, as the price of leather bags is rising, the quantity supplied of the quantities as the price of leather belts, I would rather say price of belts. So as you see, price of other commodities rises, quantity supplied of these bags is falling. So if price of another commodity rises, it becomes more profitable to produce that commodity, and so we reduce the supply of our current commodity. Understood? Sir, come on again in Hindi, sir. अगर किसी और कमोडिटी का प्राइस बढ़ रहा होगा तो मैं एज अ प्रोड्यूसर देखूंगा कि ज्यादा फायदा है वो बनाने में, तो मैं अभी जो काम कर रहा हूँ मैं उसकी सप्लाई कम करके, अभी जो मैं प्रोडक्ट प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हूँ मैं उसकी सप्लाई को कम करके दूसरे प्रोडक्ट पर शिफ्ट करूंगा। एग्जैक्टली यही बात यहां पर चल रहा है एवरीबॉडी, एग्जैक्टली यही बात यहां पर चल रहा है। वेरी गुड सर, वेरी गुड, करेक्ट, दैट्स व्हाट द पर्पस इज। खाली our focus is only to understand, okay? Memorizing is for those who are not understanding. If you are understanding everything you are listening to the class, it's more than enough. It's very good for the exams. Institute's material plus the lectures that we are providing in the knowledge portal of institute, okay? So pay attention everyone. Point number 2 was price of other goods. So if price of other goods is rising, quantity of the current commodity will fall, quantity of the current commodity will fall, price of other goods, okay? Point number 2. So these are the two factors that I've explained so far. Now let me ask you a question, let me ask you a question before we move further. Another MCQ, come on everyone, another test of MCQ, fatafat, come on everybody. See, if price of tea is rising, the producer of coffee will increase A, supply of tea, B, supply of coffee will, forget about the word increase, will increase supply of tea, will increase supply of coffee, C, decrease supply of coffee, D, both A and C. What do you think is the answer? People who answer this have been hearing perfectly, sir. So it's a test going on. Come on everyone, it is a test. Come on everybody, it is a test. 1 mark test. Come on everyone. If price of tea rises, then the producer of coffee will, if price of tea rises, the producer of coffee will do what? 4 options. Increase supply of tea, B, increase supply of coffee, C, decrease supply of coffee, D, both A and C. Come on everybody, I need to hear it from you all. A, B, C, D, what? You all are absolutely correct, yeah. Very good, come on. So very good, yeah, you people are absolutely correct. The correct option is D, because see, when I find out that the price of tea is rising, as a producer I'll start selling more of tea, and at the same time I'll reduce coffee, because resources are limited, I cannot produce everything in my plantation. So here it is, I have decreased the supply of coffee and increased the supply of tea. So both A and C have been absolutely correct. So my dear friends, till now we have been able to complete 2 points. We have been able to complete 2 points. So let's see, let's move on to the third point. Let's see if you are able to move to the third point. So let's see. Point number 3. Point number 3 is called price of input or price of factors of production that is used in production process, okay? So price of input or factors of production, price of input or factors of production, okay? In place of input I can also write factors of production, okay? It's the same thing, all right? So don't need to worry. Pay attention everybody. price of input and other factors of product or other factors of production. Now guys, I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say for per unit price of, let's say, a particular product, let's say a bag. Okay, for a per unit price of bag, 200 is given to labor for their work on the bag. Let's say 200 is given for work, for work basically, I mean as a rent to for a place to manufacture the bag. And finally 300 is kept as profit margin. So overall the price of the bag tends to be 700 rupees under the current scenario. Now my dear friends, what happens is you are forced to keep the price of bag as 700, but now the labor has demanded increase in their salaries, increase in their wages. So instead of 200, now you are having to pay 300. Let's say your landlord has asked you to give more rent. They have increased your landlord, your landlord has increased your rent by, let's say, 100 rupees. So you have to give 300 now. So my dear friends, if you have to keep the price constant this time, how much profit are you left with? 100 rupees. So yes, my dear friends, I hope you are able to understand. That is what has happened here. That is when the input price went up, the profit margin, when the input price went up, the profit margin went down, and therefore profit margin went down, and therefore your willingness to supply or quantity supplied will also go down, because you see supply is directly motivated by the profit margin. Since profit margin is going down, why is it going down? Because price is constant and input price is rising, so naturally quantity supplied will fall. Okay, so let me tell you something. What sir? I'll explain this in Hindi again. आप लोग ये समझ लो कि जो कॉस्ट अपना लग रहा होता है एक प्रोडक्ट को बनाने के लिए कॉस्ट अपना लग रहा होता है। अब अगर उस प्रोडक्ट का कॉस्ट बढ़ रहा है, अब अगर उस प्रोडक्ट की कॉस्ट आप देख रहे हो बढ़ रहा है, तो आप क्या करोगे? सर उस केस में हम लोग जो है शिफ्ट करेंगे। हम लोग जो है बेसिकली जब देखेंगे कि प्रोडक्ट का कॉस्ट बढ़ रहा है, तो एज अ सप्लायर मैं क्या करूंगा? मैं देखूंगा कि यार प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कम हो रहा है, तो मैं इस कमोडिटी से दूसरे कमोडिटी पर जाऊंगा। तो इस कमोडिटी के सप्लाई को मैंने क्या किया? कम किया। क्यों? क्योंकि इनपुट प्राइस बढ़ने की वजह से मेरा प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कम हो गया, क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड। अब आप लोग ये मत बोलना कि सर इनपुट प्राइस बढ़ा है तो प्राइस भी बढ़ा दो, बिकॉज अपने मानते हैं कि जब एक फैक्टर को अपने स्टडी कर रहे हैं, जैसे यहाँ पर इनपुट प्राइस, तो अदर फैक्टर जैसे प्राइस वो कांस्टेंट रहेगा। When we are talking about one factor, other factors are assumed to be constant. So you cannot come with an excuse that sir, just because input is rising, why don't you raise the price? No, because input is one of those factors that we are studying. Once we are studying input, we will assume other factor, that is price, to remain constant. My dear friends, is this point clear? So this is the logic. What has happened? I'll explain once more. Basically the input price rose. Labor was getting 200, rent 200, profit was 300. But due to labor strikes and the landlord's demand to raise the rent, now we are left with only 100 rupees profit margin. Since profit margin is falling, quantity supplied will fall. Okay, I've explained this again. Always remember that when we talk about supply, we only talk about producer's perspective. In demand, only consumer's perspective. Don't try to mix the both. Okay, moving on. Since the third point is absolutely clear to all of you, point number 4 is what I can move on to. Okay, obviously we'll practice more MCQs right away. Point number 4 is state of technology. So friends, it's pretty clear, it's pretty easy. State of technology, what do you mean, sir? My dear friends, if the technology is advanced, if you are using an advanced technology, let's say, so what will happen? Quantity supplied will rise. But let's say if you are using an obsolete technology, a machine that you have been using for past 5 to 6 years, obviously its efficiency will go down, and therefore the quantity supplied will also reduce. You can take the example of this photocopy machines, which we also call as Xerox machines. Today new digital kind of machines have come, wherein 100 or 200 copies immediately they can put it to print. But initially, in the old days, I'll tell you, it used to take a lot of time. We had to stand in the shop. If we needed 100 copies, they will do it one by one, one by one, one by one. I'm talking about 10-20 years back. So that's what I'm saying, that if somebody is still doing this, their supply will be low. But here, if somebody is using advanced technology, obviously their supply will be much more. So there is the advantage, there lies the advantage, there lies the advantage. Okay, yes sir. So my dear friends, another MCQ question, another MCQ question. It's an MCQ time right away. Okay, so let me give you a question. Okay, let's see who is able to answer. The question is Mrs. B discovers that input price of her product is rising. How will supply change? A. Increase, decrease, can't say. D. None. I'll read out the question again. Okay, I'll read down the question again. So the question is, Mrs. B discovers that input price of her product is rising. Input price of her product is rising. How will the supply change? Come on, everybody. Okay, Kanishk. Okay, Himanshu. Correct answer. Okay, Srinidhi. Okay, Abhinav. Correct answer, friends. Till now, the answers have been correct. Okay, fantastic. So your answers are absolutely correct that, sir, since input price is rising, it's better to decrease the supply. It's better to decrease the supply. Now next MCQ question again. Mr. A and Mr. B are in printing business. Mr. A is using obsolete machine while Mr. B is using the latest technology. While Mr. B is using the latest technology. Who do you think will have lesser supply? Option A, Mr. A. Option B, Mr. B. Option C, both. Option D, none. Come on, everyone. Let me, have your answers, please. So basically, Mr. A and B are in printing business. Mr. A is using obsolete machinery while Mr. B is using latest technology. What do you think will happen to the supply? Come on, everybody. Done by who will be, supplying less? What do you think? Come on, everybody. Yes. Okay. So yes, your option is absolutely correct. Mr. A. The correct answer is Mr. A. The correct answer is Mr. A. Okay, so yes, because Mr. A has been using an obsolete machinery, therefore he will not be able to command the advantages of higher production. Okay, in fact, you know what the funny thing is, soon after this chapter our topic will be production. So there this interesting phenomenon also. Okay, so we'll have to look into that. That's not a big deal. Let's move on. Yeah, come on, everybody. Next point, actually we have done 4 points, right? So let's come to the fifth point, fifth factor basically that affects supply. Let's come to the fifth point that affects supply. What is the fifth point, sir? My dear friends, the fifth point is government's policy. The fifth point is government policy. Sir, can you tell us about this government policy again? Sir, can you tell us about this government policy again? Yes, certainly I can. So my dear friends, let's say the government is imposing taxes. My dear friends, what will taxes do? Rise in taxes basically means rise in cost of production, because that have been included in the production cost. So what will happen to the supply, you think? We have studied it under the input point that if cost of production rises, quantity supplied will fall. Very good. But let's say, guys, come on everyone. Come on everyone. Another question is, what about subsidy, sir? If the government starts giving subsidy, sir, what is the meaning of subsidy, sir? Most of us will not know. So I'll explain you. See, pay attention everyone. Pay attention. Subsidy. Now my dear friends, if subsidy is rising, first of all, what is subsidy? Dear friends, subsidy basically means where government for some essential item tells that government will come and help the producer. So let's say if your production cost of a product is 10 rupees, let's say government is giving you subsidy. It basically means that 4 rupees government is bearing. 4 is just an example, and 6 you have to take out from your own pocket. Now see, if the subsidy increases, that is the advantage given by the government increases, my real cost of production is 6 only. So if subsidy is rising, my cost of production is going down. If my cost of production is going down, obviously what is happening to my profit margin? It's going up. And if my profit margin is going up, my quantity supplied is also very good, going up. My quantity supplied will also go up. Absolutely correct, my dear friends. Absolutely correct. Very good. So when there is a subsidy, the quantity supplied will rise, because it is better off for the producer, because they are having to, the cost they are having to incur is too less, and therefore it's advantageous for them, So simply speaking, let's summarize this point in a box. Let's see. So if tax is rising, products overall cost is rising, and therefore quantity supplied is falling. But let's say if subsidy is rising, the cost is falling, and so the quantity supplied is rising, but that is what is happening. This is enough. This is exactly what is happening, friends. Sir, we got your point, sir. Okay, so this is point number 5, government policy. Point number 5, government policy. Okay, sir, go ahead. Next, number 6 is nature and size of industry. Pay attention everyone. Now friends, when I talk about nature and size of industry, what is happening here? See guys, there can be two things. Number one, your industry has a lot of competitors. Number two, industry has less number of competitors. Number one, competitors are many. Number two, competitors are few. So my dear friends, if the competition that you are having, if it is increasing, what will happen to the supply of the commodity in the market? Obviously supply will increase, because everybody is now supplying. But if there is a monopoly, obviously the only monopoly means basically when one seller is there in the market. Like for example, government has monopoly over railways. So if there is only one seller in the market, then supply will not increase. So if there is monopoly, the quantity supplied tends to be lesser compared to when there is competition, because when there is competition, all of the producers are willing to sell their product and hence producing their product, and therefore supply will automatically rise in a market with competition. Okay, So let me give you another MCQ, whether you are able to answer or not. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. Government BCD. Let's say the name of the government is BCD. So the government BCD had decided to impose 20% tax more on production of, let's say, leather items. What will happen to quantity supplied? Option A, rise. B, fall. C, no change. D, can't say. Come on, everybody, answer me this question, everyone. Come on, everybody, answer me this question, everybody. Okay, government BCD, basically I've just tried to name the government. Government's name is BCD, so nothing to worry about the same. Okay. Okay. So yes, you are absolutely correct while you are realizing that yes, it is absolutely correct. Government BCD has decided to impose 20% taxes, and if you are wanting to impose tax, you are raising the cost basically. In a scenario where you are raising the cost, what will happen to supply? Naturally, the supply will fall. Naturally, the supply will fall, and that's what has happened here. The supply has fallen, friends. The supply has fallen, friends. Right? Yes, sir. So now, if this much is crystal clear, come on, everybody, let's summarize it till here before I can, I am able to, talk about this any further. Before I am able to talk about this any further. Okay, let's complete one more point and then I'll summarize. Okay, not a hurry. Okay, see, next point is point number 7, which I mean is expectations. Expectations of producers. So let's say you are a producer. Okay, you are a producer. Use common sense. Economics is nothing more than common sense. Nothing more than common sense. Okay, pay attention, everyone. So guys, let me give you an example. Let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say if producer, like in the case of leather bag, if producer expects price to rise in future, prices are going to rise, what will happen to quantity supplied at present? Come on, everybody, what will happen to quantity supplied at present? What will happen to quantity supplied at present? Pay attention, everyone. If the producer expects price to rise in the future, what will happen to quantity supplied at present? Yes, they will think that future prices they will get more. At future, if they sell, in the future if they sell, they will be able to, for the same product, they will be able to get more money. So what they will do is today create an artificial scarcity, and so they will say that there is no supply. They will reduce the supply this time. They will reduce the supply. Why? So that they are able to sell at a higher price later. So in order to sell at a higher price later on, in order to sell at a higher price later on, in order to sell at a higher price later on, in order to sell at a higher price later on, under the assumption that later on I will be able to sell at a higher price, and that's the thing motivating them. Again, another question, guys. If let's say producers, and this behavior is very much seen in the stock market, very much seen in the stock market. If producers expect price to fall, you think of the stock market. Suppose you have shares of Reliance Industries. Just take for example, you have the shares of Reliance Industries. Now you get a news that in future maybe Reliance Industries shares will be 2600 or 2700. If you get this news that Reliance Industries shares will be 2600 or 2700 in the future, today it's trading at 2500, what will you do? Yes, sir, Sir, what we will do is basically we'll shift on to the selling process later on. We will decide to sell it later on. Today's supply fallen, future supply rose. Exactly my point. Similarly, guys, if producers expect price to fall in future, the quantity supplied at present, what will happen, do you think, guys? Yes, you are absolutely correct. That, see, if Reliance Industries shares price will fall, let's say there is a major takeover that has taken place which will adversely affect Reliance Industries, what do you think will happen? You are absolutely correct in saying the fact that if quantity supplied at present, if the price in the future is falling, then quantity supplied at present will rise, because the producers will want to sell off their items. They won't want to run at a loss later on. They won't want to run at a loss later on. So it will definitely increase. It will definitely increase. And then there is another point which I have explained already in this nature and size of industry. So if there are a large number of sellers, then automatically quantity supplied will increase. And if there are fewer sellers, quantity supplied will fall. So number of sellers point is pretty basic in nature. Okay. So my dear friends, broadly speaking, we have studied 7 points. I will summarize these 7 points to you all now, once in Hindi and then back again in English. Okay. So pay attention everyone. ध्यान दीजिए सब कोई. अपने स्टडी कर रहे हैं फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग सप्लाई को. अलग अलग फैक्टर्स, अपने 7 फैक्टर्स कुल मिलाकर पढ़ाई किए, है ना. पहला फैक्टर था ओन प्राइस ऑफ द कमोडिटी, जिसके अंतर्गत जिसमें अपने पढ़ाई किए कि अगर एक कमोडिटी के खुद का प्राइस बढ़ रहा है तो प्रोड्यूसर का प्रॉफिट मार्जिन बढ़ेगा एंड इसकी वजह से क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ेगा, जिसको अपन डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप बोलते हैं. और ऐसा ग्राफ अपने देखे. फिर था प्राइस ऑफ अदर गुड्स. प्राइस ऑफ अदर गुड्स में ऐसा है कि भाई अगर प्रोड्यूसर देखता है कि किसी और कमोडिटी का प्राइस बढ़ रहा है, इसका मतलब उसे लगने लगेगा कि यार उस कमोडिटी को बनाने से फायदा ज्यादा होगा, तो प्रोड्यूसर लोग करंट कमोडिटी का सप्लाई को कम करेंगे और उस कमोडिटी का सप्लाई को इंक्रीज करेंगे. नेक्स्ट नंबर आपका प्राइस ऑफ इनपुट्स. अब अगर एक कमोडिटी के इनपुट्स का कॉस्ट बढ़ रहा है, अगर एक कमोडिटी के इनपुट्स का कॉस्ट बढ़ रहा है, इसका अर्थ है कि अगर आपको जो कमोडिटी को बनाने के लिए जो चीजें चाहिए अगर वो महंगी होती जा रही है, तो इससे क्या होगा, प्राइस तो सेम रहा, अब वो महंगी होती जा रही है तो आपको अपना प्रॉफिट कमाना पड़ेगा, जिसकी वजह से दोस्तों क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड कम होगा. ठीक है दोस्तों. मूविंग ऑन टू स्टेट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. मेरे दोस्तों, अगर स्टेट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी बेटर रहा, एडवांस्ड रहा, बेहतर टेक्नोलॉजी आपके पास रहा, तो आप सप्लाई ज्यादा कर पाइएगा. वहीं पर अगर आप पुरानी टेक्नोलॉजी पर बैठे रहे तो आपकी सप्लाई कम होती चली जाएगी. क्लियर है सर. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी. गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी के अंतर्गत हमने पढ़ाई की कि अगर एक प्रोडक्ट पर टैक्सेस बढ़ेगा तो प्रोडक्ट महंगा होगा, जिससे सप्लाई घटेगा. बट अगर एक प्रोडक्ट पर सब्सिडीज बढ़ेगी तो प्रोडक्ट सस्ता होगा, जिससे सप्लाई बढ़ेगा. मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, नेचर एंड साइज ऑफ इंडस्ट्री. अगर बाजार में कंपटीशन ज्यादा है, सेलर्स ज्यादा है, तो सप्लाई बेसी होगा, सेलर्स कम है तो सप्लाई कम होगा. एंड फाइनली एक्सपेक्टेशंस. अगर एक प्रोड्यूसर को दोस्तों ऐसा लगता है, कि प्राइस फ्यूचर में बढ़ने वाला है, तो वो आज के डेट पर अपना क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड कम कर देगा. बट अगर उसे लगता है कि प्राइस फ्यूचर में घटने वाला है, तो वो आज के डेट पर अपना क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड इंक्रीज कर देगा. ये है सर बातचीत. ओके. नाउ आई विल समराइज इट फॉर यू ऑल इन हिंदी वंस अगेन. एवरीबडी. ओके. So pay attention everyone. The first point we studied was price of own commodity. If price of own commodity rises, quantity supplied will rise, other factors remaining constant. Okay, because profit margin is rising. If price of other commodities is rising, current commodity supply will fall, because the producers will find it even profitable to supply the other commodity rather than the current commodity. Okay, moving on. After price of other goods, next point is, my dear friends, price of inputs. In case of price of inputs, my dear friends, if the price of inputs rises, product becomes expensive, and so quantity supplied falls. Why? Because profit margin is reducing. We cannot raise price because price is assumed to be constant, right, dear friend? Okay, moving on. State of technology. If state of technology is advanced, supply will be high. If state of technology is poor, supply will be low. Next point, my dear friends, government policy. If taxes are more, cost is more, quantity supplied will fall. Okay. Then nature and size of industry. So my dear friends, as far as nature and size of industry is concerned, if there are a larger number of sellers, more supply, lesser number, less supply. And finally, expectation. If you expect the prices to rise in future, quantity supplied at present will fall, and if you expect the prices to fall in the future, quantity supplied at the present will rise. One of you have asked, sir, in a practical world, it's been asked by one of our friends, Subha Lakshmi, sir, you are saying that if price of other commodity rise, we start producing that. So sir, is it very easy to shift to another commodity that you are explaining it that casually? Yes, my dear friend, in economics, we are working on assumptions. We are working under the assumption that yes, it is definitely possible to shift to production of another commodity if its price is rising. We have got to, accept that. Okay. Crystal clear. I hope it's crystal clear, everyone. I hope it's crystal clear, everyone, friends. Come on, everybody. Okay. Yes, Tanzin, you are absolutely correct, my dear friend. You are absolutely correct. Moving on. So let me give you a question. Let me give you all a question so that we can test whether you are understanding or not. Let's see. Price of A is rupees 10. A is a product. A is a product. Okay. A is a product. Price of A is rupees 10 and has been rising for a while. And has been rising for a while. B is a competitive product of A. How will the supplier of B react? How will the supplier of B react if price of B is constant? If price of product B is constant, it is not rising. So how will he react? Options are A, increase B, increase supply of B, increase supply of A, C, don't know, D, can't say. Come on, everybody. I'll need to hear it from you all. What do you think is the correct answer here? What do you think is the correct answer here? Come on, everybody. A, B, C, D. Very, very good. Absolutely brilliant. So you all are absolutely correct that since price of A has been on the rise, so it's better to advise this person to shift to increase supply of A. That is option number B is absolutely correct. Option number B is absolutely correct. Okay, guys. So the fact that you have understood this now takes me to the next point of discussion. The fact that you have understood this takes me to the next point of discussion. Okay. Yes, sir. Great. So let's go on to our next point. Okay. Yes. And today also we'll solve some questions. Okay. Like every day. So moving on. Come on. Next topic is law of supply. What is the next topic, sir? Friends, the next topic is law of supply. Law of supply is much like law of demand. Just like law of demand tells us about the relationship between own price and quantity demanded, my dear friends, law of supply tells us the relationship between own price and quantity supplied. So dear friends, as per law of supply, when the price of a commodity is rising, quantity supplied will rise, and if price falls, quantity supplied will fall. other factors remaining constant. Other factors remaining constant. Sir, what are the other factors, sir? What are the other factors, sir? I'll give you the name of the other factors, guys, that we have studied right now. Other factors may include, my dear friends, it may include price of other goods, price of other commodities, you know, it may include the product's cost of production, it may include the technology. All these are assumed to be constant. It may assume the number of sellers in the market to be constant, you know, it may assume all these things. So basically, apart from own price, all the factors that we have studied today are assumed to be constant. All the factors we have studied till now are assumed to be constant. Okay, so is this the case? Yes, friends, this is the case. Yes, friends, this is the case. So having said that, let's see whether law of supply is clear to you or not. Law of supply talks about the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Law of supply talks about the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Okay, now I'll draw for you a supply schedule. Remember, guys, whenever we draw a table in economics, it is called a schedule. Whenever we draw a table in in economics, we are calling it a schedule. So let me draw for you a table. Let me draw for you all a table. Okay, so let's say, you know, price here, quantity supplied here. So let's say if price is 1 rupees, quantity supplied is 5. If price is 2 rupees, quantity supplied is 35. Price is 3, quantity supplied is 45. Price is 4, quantity supplied is 55. What I'm trying to tell you is, and yes, in number of sellers, it is very simple, common sense, that if number of sellers are more, quantity supplied is more. Full stop. So now coming back to the point, pay attention, everybody. Again, I'm drawing this diagram which I have drawn above. Okay, price, quantity supplied, no chiast, nothing as such. Okay, moving on. So price and quantity supplied, pay attention, everyone. Let's say price is 1 rupee, quantity supplied is 5. Price is risen to 2, quantity supplied has risen to 35. Moving on, guys, price has risen to 3, quantity supplied has risen to 45. Price has gone to 4, quantity supplied to 55. What I'm telling you all is, if you draw this, if you join this, this is what the quantity supplied looks like, or this is called the supply curve. This is how the supply curve looks like. This is how the supply curve looks like. This is how the supply curve looks like. Okay, this is how the supply curve looks like. So it's amazing, sir. It's absolutely clear to us. It's upward sloping. It is also called upward sloping curve. It is also called a positive curve, and so many other things. Right, friends? It's called so many other things. Okay. So now, having said that, guys, I am talking about another concept which is of crucial importance to each one of us. Okay. So what is that topic, sir? My dear friends, let me come to that topic. Pay attention, everyone. The name of the topic is, pay attention, everyone. The name of the topic is movement versus shift of supply. Sir, we did the same thing in case of demand, isn't it, sir? Yes. Just like that, we'll do the same case with supply. Okay. So have a look here. Movement versus shift. Pay attention, everyone. Pay attention, everyone. So my dear friends, movement talks about in quantity supplied. Okay, I have forgotten to summarize law of supply in Hindi and English both, so I'll do it for you all. Friends, as per law of supply, if price rises, quantity supplied will rise, and if price falls, quantity supplied will fall. Other factors remaining constant. अगर एक कमोडिटी का दाम बढ़ेगा तो उसकी क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ेगी क्योंकि प्रॉफिट मार्जिन बढ़ रहा है, और अगर एक कमोडिटी का प्राइस गिरता है, कम होता है, तो क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड भी कम होगा. बाकी चीजों को आप कांस्टेंट रखें, है ना. मूविंग ऑन सर. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू movement versus shift. Now moving on to movement versus shift. Please remember, my dear friends, Movement is also called as change in quantity supplied. Movement is also called as change in quantity supplied. Movement is also called as change in quantity supplied, while shift is also called as change in supply. Movement is also called as change in quantity supplied, while shift is also called as change in supply. So movement is also called change in quantity supplied, shift is also called as change in supply. Okay sir, okay sir, pay attention everyone. My dear friends, when we are talking about the rise or fall in supply, please pay attention everybody. When we are talking about the rise or fall in supply due to own price, it is called movement. I'll write it down for you. Rise or fall in supply due to own price of the commodity. Due to own price of the commodity. That, my dear friends, is called movement. That, my dear friends, is called movement. When price rise or fall in quantity supplied takes place due to own price of the commodity. Due to own price of the commodity. Okay. Due to own price of the commodity, other factors remaining constant, that is ceteris paribus. Okay. But if there is a rise or fall, if there is a rise or fall in supply, if there is a rise or fall in supply due to other factors affecting supply, own price remaining constant. If there is a rise or fall in quantity supplied due to other factors, due to other factors, own price constant, own price remaining constant, then my dear friends, what did I tell you? If own price remains constant, then my dear friends, what did I tell you? What will happen to quantity supplied? Then it is called the case of shift. Own price remains constant. Okay. Rise or fall in quantity supplied due to other factors, own price remaining constant. This is the case of shift. This is the case of shift. Okay, okay, okay. Moving on. Now friends, pay attention everyone. Pay attention everyone. Number two. Number two. Friends, whenever there is a rise, whenever there is a rise due to own price, whenever there is a rise due to own price, that is called, forget it. Remember that movement is of two types. Remember that movement is of two types. Number one is called extension or expansion. Is called extension or expansion. Both are the correct words to be used. Expansion or extension. And another word is movements type is contraction, or yes, contraction is called contraction only, so nothing to write. What is happening in case of expansion, sir? What is happening is basically when price is rising, quantity supplied is rising. Okay, so that's what is happening in case of expansion or extension. But friends, if you talk about contraction, when price is falling, quantity supplied is also falling. That, my dear friends, is called contraction. That, my dear friends, is called contraction. Clear? That's the point. But pay attention everyone. When you're talking about, please pay attention everyone. But when you're talking about the types of shift, like in the types of movement, we have studied expansion or extension and contraction, right? But when we talk about the types of shift, there are two types of shift here. Friends, the two types of shift here that we discuss are number one, increase, and number two, decrease. Number one, increase, and number two, decrease. So let's have a discussion of the same. Okay, increase and decrease. So dear friends, if quantity supplied is rising due to other factors, own price remaining constant, it is called increase in supply. Be very careful with the words you choose, because expansion is used in case of price, increase is used in case of other factors. So don't mix or jingle up the words. Okay, you cannot. In case of decrease, my dear friends, when there is a fall in quantity supplied, because own price remains constant, there is no change in own price, that's the case of decrease. That's the case of decrease. So whatever we have done till now, let me summarize it for you both in Hindi and English. Okay, pay attention everyone. अगर कमोडिटी का क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ रहा है या घट रहा है, उसका कारण ऑन प्राइस है, तो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मूवमेंट। लेकिन अगर कमोडिटी का सप्लाई बढ़ रहा है या घट रहा है ऑन प्राइस को छोड़कर किसी भी और कारणों की वजह से, उसे अपने शिफ्ट कहते हैं। मूवमेंट दो तरीके का होता है, एक्सपेंशन और कॉन्ट्रैक्शन। एक्सपेंशन में प्राइस बढ़ने से क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ता है, और कॉन्ट्रैक्शन में प्राइस घटने से क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड घटता है। शिफ्ट में क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड बढ़ता है तो इंक्रीज बोलते हैं, क्वांटिटी सप्लाइड घटता है तो डिक्रीज बोलते हैं। किसी भी और फैक्टर की वजह से उनमें से ऑन प्राइस एक फैक्टर नहीं रहने वाला, उनमें से ऑन प्राइस एक फैक्टर कतई नहीं रहने वाला। क्लियर है सर? बिल्कुल क्लियर है। सो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, व्हाट आई हैव टोल्ड राइट नाउ इज, इन केस ऑफ मूवमेंट when there is a rise or fall in quantity supplied due to own price, in shift there is a rise or fall in quantity supplied but not due to own price. It may be due to any other factor. Own price here is constant. Okay, movement is of two types, expansion and contraction. Shift is of two types, again increase and decrease. Okay, that's the logic sir, that's the logic my dear friends. Yes sir, we have got the idea. Yes sir, we have got this idea. So having said this, let's move on friends, let's move on friends to the graph part, because graph is ultimately the soul of economics. Graph is ultimately the soul of economics. So pay attention everybody. Okay, see, pay attention everyone. Pay attention. Let's say my dear friends, if this was price P1 and if the price has risen, if this was quantity 1, now the quantity 2 has risen. So my dear friends, as you can see, when I join both, there is an upward movement. So yes, please remember, in case of expansion, there is upward movement along the same curve. There is upward movement along the same curve. In case of expansion, there is upward movement along the same curve. Okay, great. But my dear friends, if it is a case of contraction, there will be downward movement. I'll show you the graph, don't worry, I'll show you the graph, don't worry. Downward movement, I'll tell you how. Pay attention everybody, pay attention everybody. See, this is price, this is quantity supplied. So initially price was this, so quantity supplied was this, okay, Q1. But now price has fallen, so quantity supplied has also fallen here. So if you join, the graph looks the same, exactly. The graph looks the same, it is exactly the same. But my dear friends, there is a downward movement along the same curve. There is a downward movement along the same curve. आप उसी कर्व में नीचे की तरफ जा रहे हो, ये है आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, है ना? जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक कमोडिटी का प्राइस जो है वो गिर गया। अब अगर कमोडिटी का प्राइस गिर गया तो प्रोड्यूसर तो सप्लाई कम करेगा ना, प्रोड्यूसर विल रिड्यूस द सप्लाई ना इफ प्राइस इज फॉलिंग। एग्जैक्टली माय पॉइंट। ओके, सो देयर इज डाउनवर्ड मूवमेंट अलोंग द सेम कर्व। प्लीज रिमेंबर, डू यू नो गाइज, in demand it was just the opposite. In demand we had studied that in case of expansion or extension there was a downward movement, and in case of contraction there was an upward movement. Okay, thank you Diksha, Muhammad Barkatullah, thank you very much. But now let's focus on the subject, right? So pay attention everyone. In case of expansion there is an upward movement along the same curve. In case of contraction there is downward movement along the same curve. It is the case of supply. Had it been the case of demand, in case of demand, for expansion there is a downward movement, and for contraction there is an upward movement. Okay, it was for demand. Okay, so moving on guys, moving on. So now if we talk about increase and decrease, let's pay attention everybody, let's talk about increase and decrease. Okay, so here it is, I have written friends price here, quantity supplied here. Okay, so if it's the case of increase, you see guys, see price will remain constant. So let's say price, initially price was this and quantity supplied was this, meeting here. So let's say the supply curve was passing through here. Let's say if my dear friends supply has risen to Q2 from Q1 but price has remained the same, So the new point of intersection would be this, and the new supply curve would somewhere pass from here. So again, there is a rightward shift in case of increase. So in case of increase, what happens, friends, is there is a rightward shift. In case of increase, what happens, friends, is there is a rightward shift. Is there is a rightward shift, okay? But in case of decrease, there is a leftward shift. In case of increase, there is a rightward shift, and in case of decrease, friends, there is a leftward shift. There is a leftward shift, okay? I'll show it to you. Come on, everybody. Pay attention. Pay attention, everyone. So guys, if you put a price here and quantity supplied here, okay, so my dear friends, if this is the original curve that we had done, here there will be a leftward movement, and since there is a leftward movement here, it is looking like this. So dear friends, please remember that in case of decrease, there is a leftward shift. In case of decrease, there is a leftward shift. There is a leftward shift. There is a leftward shift. Please remember it, everyone. Okay. So in case of increase, there is a rightward shift, and in case of decrease, there is a leftward shift. Okay. So now let's start with MCQ. Okay. 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 So let's ask some MCQ questions to you all. Okay. Let me write it down for you all. In case of demand, pay attention, it is from demand. Extension will lead to dash movement. In case of supply, same question. In case of supply, extension will lead to dash movement. Come on, everybody. Read carefully and then answer the respective question. Okay. So I am giving you 4 options right away. Option A, upward, downward. When I write 2 options, it means apply it accordingly. B, downward, upward. C, leftward, rightward. D, rightward, leftward. Come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. Okay. Gunjan, Shalini, let's see. Mohammed Sahil Khan, okay. Kirti, very good. Harnoor, good work. Rahul, good work. So see, friends, in case of demand, extension will lead to downward movement, absolutely, and supply upward. So option B is the correct answer. Very good. And what I'm surprised to see is everybody has given the correct answer. I mean, I am happy about it, but I'm pleasantly surprised. You see, downward and upward. Brilliant, everybody. Very good. Sakaldeep, good answer. Mohammad Barkatullah, very good answer. Manash, good answer. Gareja, good answer. Okay, okay, okay. So now, moving on. Having said this, guys, let's move on to another MCQ question and let's see whether you are able to hammer it or not. Come on, everybody. Let's move on to the next question. Yes, Siddhi, it is visible. Okay. So the next question is, in case of increase in supply, what will remain constant? What will remain constant? You have the following options, friends. A, price of related goods. Price of own goods. Income. D, nature of technology. Come on, everybody. What do you think would be the correct answer here? Come on, everybody. What do you think would be the correct answer here? Come on. Yes, Rohan, good answer. Kanishk, very good. Himanshu, good work. Atharv, correct answer. Correct answer, Dharvi. So yes, it's the price of own goods that remains constant. It's the price of own goods that remains constant. You all are absolutely correct. Okay. Now friends, having said this, let's solve some questions from ICI material as well. Okay. Yes sir, sure. So let's see if we are able to solve questions from institute's material as well or not. Those were the questions made by me. Now we are doing the questions made by ICI. Let's see. Okay. So pay attention everybody. Pay attention everybody. We are going to solve some questions. Okay. Pay attention. Yes sir, we will discuss graph based questions as well. Okay, so don't worry. Pay attention everyone. Let's see. Supply questions we skipped last day. Okay, but today my mood is to do supply questions first. Okay. Okay, so here it is. We are selecting the questions randomly. Okay, so pay attention everyone. An increase in supply of a good, an increase in supply of a good is caused by improvement in production technology, fall in price of other goods. Okay, fall in price of factors of production. Yes. Oh my god, what do you think is the answer, guys? All the above. Because see, new technology, more supplied. Correct. If the price of other goods fell, then we will produce only the current commodity, so the current commodity supply will rise. Fall in the price of factor of production, so the factor of production have become cheaper, so profit margin have improved, so it will be all the points. All the points, come on everyone, all the points here in question number 47. Okay, okay, okay. Moving on. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. Pay attention, everybody. Pay attention, everybody. Okay. Contraction of supply is a result of what? Is they are asking. Contraction of supply is a result of what they are asking. So let me explain to you what it is a result of. Okay. Contraction of supply is because of own price. Very good. So decrease in number of producers, no. Decrease in price of the goods concerned, no, but yes, it can be because decrease in price of the goods concerned. Yes, it's correct. So B is absolutely correct. B, 50 part B is absolutely correct. Okay. So another, so you guys score how much you have done, because two questions I have asked till now. So let me find out how many of you have scored 2 out of 2, because now we are going to solve 8 more, so it will be a 10 marks test basically. So keep your scores. Two questions we have tested from the material. Okay, let's move on to the third one. And yes, I will include demand questions as well, so be ready accordingly. Be ready accordingly. Okay, all right. As income rises, consumers will go for superior goods. Correct. Consumer will buy superior goods. So it is a question from demand. Why? Because they are talking about a consumer, and consequently the demand for inferior goods will fall. So simply asking, they are asking, what is the inferior goods demand called? What kind of elasticity do inferior goods have? Income less than 1, negative income elasticity, zero income elasticity, or unitary income elasticity? Come on everybody, answer it. Very good, very good. Yes, correct answer. So the answer is negative income elasticity. Negative income elasticity. Negative income elasticity. Very good, yeah. So the point is negative income elasticity of demand. The point is negative income elasticity of demand. Moving on. Moving on. Okay, this is again from demand. A good which cannot be consumed more than once. Which cannot be consumed more than once. Once you have used, it's gone. Yes, you are absolutely correct, friends. It's called non-durable goods. Durable goods like furniture stay for long. Non-durable goods don't stay for long. Okay, so here it is. Very good. Non-durable goods. Very, very good. Okay. Okay, let's see. Question number 63. Potato chips and popcorns are substitutes. Yes, because one may have the have one or the other. Both are basically snacks. Okay, so let's see. It's question 63. Potato chips and popcorn are substitutes of one another. Correct. A rise in price of potato chips. Okay, so basically potato chips are becoming more expensive. Rise in price of potato chips. So basically potato chips are becoming more expensive. Will dash the demand for popcorn. You see, if potato chips become expensive, so it will definitely increase the demand for popcorn. So the first answer will be increase. So these two cannot be the answer. Now, and the quantity of popcorn sold and the popcorn quantity of sold. Acha, as I will dash the demand for popcorn and the quantity of popcorn sold will increase. Obviously, demand, if demand rises, then the quantity of sold will increase. So both A. Okay, okay, correct. So it will be increase obviously na. If the demand is increasing for popcorn, then the popcorn sold will also increase na. So it's supply here that they are talking about. All right, moving on. Okay, let's see. With an increase in price of diamond, okay, so basically the diamond is getting more and more expensive. Okay, so basically the diamond is getting more and more expensive. Okay, so with an increase in price of diamond, what will happen to the quantity demanded? It will increase. Okay, why is it happening? Why is it violating the law of demand? What do you think, guys, is the answer? Come on, everybody. Yes, because it's a conspicuous good. Conspicuous good, or you can say snob good. We have studied Veblen good. We have studied this. You know, there are different names. Acha. Moving on. An example of good. Question number 69, everybody. An example of good that exhibit direct price demand relationship. Okay, so the key word here is direct relationship between price and demand. Direct relationship between price and demand. Come on, everybody. Yes, you are absolutely correct. It's the Giffen goods. These are the exceptions to the law of demand. Point number one. The case of World War, I think you remember. Sir Robert Giffen. Okay. So yes, absolutely correct. All right, let's see next. Quantity supplied question is coming back to back now. So pay attention, everyone. Now back to back quantity supplied questions we will solve. Come on, everybody. Back to back. Quantity supplied of a good or a service is the amount that is actually bought during a given period at a given price. Producers wish they could sell at a higher price. Producers plan to sell during a given time period at a given price. Producers plan to sell at a given time period at a particular price. Okay, and people are willing to buy during a given time, so we are not concerned about consumer. Now guys, remember, when we talk about quantity supplied now, it's always about the producer's plan. It's always about the producer's plan. Actual buying and selling, as of now, we are not considering. So please remember, 71 option will be C. 71 option will be C. That is what the producers are planning to sell during a particular time period at a given price. So period and price given, it's not the actual, it's the planned, it's the planned, it's the planned. Obviously, wish not possible at all. Willing to buy, it's demand. So no logic here. Please remember, we are talking about plan here. We are talking about plan. Supply relates to plan. Supply relates to plan. Everybody needs to write down the same in the chat. Then only I'll move to the next question. Supply relates to planning of the producer. Everybody needs to write this in the chat. Supply relates to planning of the producer. Come on, everybody. Supply relates to planning of the producer. Come on, everybody. Okay. Moving on. Supply is the limited resources that are available with the seller. Cost of producing a good, no, it's not logical. It's not logical. Entire relationship between quantity supplied and price of a good. Yes, it is logical. It is, however, a lot logical. So yes, supply is this entire relationship. Willingness to produce if technology becomes available, no. Entire relationship between quantity and price. Yes, correct. So Mr. Kundhare Vikram is asking if supply is a cost, is a flow concept. What is demand? Same, it is also flow. It will also change with respect to time. It can be defined with per unit of time. Let's say I buy, 10 kgs of rice every month. So it's also a, demand is also a flow concept. Okay, it doesn't matter. Please pay attention, everyone. Moving on. In the book market, okay, so the books are the products now. So the books are the products now that we are talking about. Let's see what is going to happen. Come on, everybody. In the book market, supply of books will decrease if any of the following occurs, except, so we have to find out that point where the supply will not decrease. It may increase or it may remain the same. It will definitely not decrease. Book market is a market where there is books. What else? Okay, book market is a market where books are being sold. What else? Okay, so we'll pay attention, everyone. When a decrease in the number of book publishers, yes, if book publisher decrease, books will decrease. Correct, it's absolutely correct, no doubt. A decrease in the price of the book. In the book market, supply of books will decrease if any of the following occurs, except a decrease in the price of the book. Okay, let's see the next point. An increase in the future expected price of the book. Yes, if future price is expected to rise, current quantity will decrease. Correct. Increase in price of paper, so cost of production is rising because paper for a book is a input cost, so it will reduce. Sir, all the four are correct. No, option B is not correct because it's not decrease, it's contraction. So you cannot use the word decrease. Remember, because you can use the word, see, this is a classic case of why you should know the terms correctly. You use the words like increase and decrease only when it is pertaining to other factors. You use the words like rise and fall, expansion and contraction when it pertains to the own price, that is movement. So pay attention, everyone. Decrease in price of the book is the correct answer. Yes, the supply will fall, but it's contraction. It's not, the word decrease is incorrect basically. The word decrease is incorrect basically. So point number B here is the correct answer. Most of you are telling, sir, why D? D. It's wrong, no? If paper is becoming more expensive, the cost of production of book will go up, and so quantity supplied of book will go down. So D is absolutely correct. It is B which is incorrect, because the word decrease cannot be associated with own price of the book. It cannot be. Is it crystal clear, everyone, why 73 will have B as its answer? Come on, everyone, is it clear? Okay, great. So now, yes, we will talk about elasticity of supply. Don't worry, we will. So don't you panic, okay? We have another class for the same. So don't worry. I'll explain it today as well, but we have other class dedicated for it. So don't worry. Pay attention. An increase in number of sellers of bike will increase the price of bike, demand for bike, supply of bike, or demand for helmets. What do you think is the correct answer? Obviously, if the number of sellers rises, the supply of bikes will also rise. Okay, 76 I have not explained right now, so I'll not try to ask questions from the same. Okay, question number 77 and 78. Let's see what is going on here. Let's pay attention, everyone. A decrease in demand for camera. Oh wow. So question is from demand. Okay, demand for cameras has reduced, demand for cameras has decreased, demand for cameras has reduced, demand for cameras have decreased. Okay, now what they're saying is a decrease in demand for cameras, other things remaining the same. What will happen, they're asking, will a decrease in the demand for cameras, other things remaining the same, decrease in demand for cameras, everybody. Okay, increase the number of cameras brought, okay, decrease the price but increase the number of cameras brought. Okay, why will people buy more if the demand is decreasing? Decrease in quantity of camera demanded, decrease the price and decrease in number of cameras bought. Galat. So the correct answer is decrease in quantity of camera demanded. Obviously, if demand is falling, correct, other things remaining the same, that is, it is because of own price, and if it's because of the own price, it's because of the decrease in quantity of camera demanded, because I told you change in quantity demanded refers to movement that changes, that happens because of price. Okay, so a good question indeed, a good one. You have to be very careful with this one. Okay, moving on. Which of the following statement about inferior goods is or are false? So you are having to highlight the false points. Okay, inferior goods are those that we will never buy no matter how cheap they are. Okay, let's see what else they are saying. How no matter how cheap they are is false. Okay, inferior goods are those we can buy more if we become poorer, are those that we buy more of if we become poorer, are those we buy, inferior goods are those we buy more of if we become richer, if we become richer. So guys, the thing is, you know, we are asked to write what is false, we are asked to write what is false, not what is true. This is absolutely correct, that if you will buy more of inferior goods when it becomes cheaper, when you become poorer, sorry. So yes, how matters they cheaper, and it is incorrect. You will have to buy if your income is low, you will have to buy. So 1 and 3 are false. So this is the correct answer, dosto. This is the correct answer, dear friends, which is justifying both the points to be false, which is justifying both the points to be false, which is justifying both the points to be false. For those of you who are asking to explain 77 again, other things remaining constant means it is happening because of own price. Because of own price, the word used is quantity demanded. Okay, and that's why, you know, moving on. All right, guys. So now, guys, having said all of this, now I'll talk to you about time period and supply. I'll talk to you about time period and supply. After so much of discussion, we will talk about time period and supply. So my dear friends, please pay attention, because what I'll be teaching right now from time period and supply will also be helpful in other topics as well, So please pay attention, everybody. Okay, time period and supply is our next concept. Okay, time period and supply. This will be helpful in production as well. This topic, time period and supply, is very useful in production as well. Okay, so pay attention, everybody. Time period and supply. Okay, let's go. So my dear friends, in general we talk about 3, but I'll tell you about 4 types of time periods associated with supply. Please listen to it very carefully, otherwise you might face a little difficulty. Okay, so please pay attention. Okay, number 1 is very short period. Very short period. Acha, there is no definition. 6 months, 1 year. No, there is no definition. So if you're thinking there is a definition, there is no definition. Please pay attention. Very short period. Next is long period. Next, short period. After this, long period. And then there is very long period, which is also called secular period, which is also called market period or secular period. Okay, pay attention. Which is called secular/market period. I'll talk to you about each one of them. Don't worry. Just focus on the key concepts that I am explaining. Okay, pay attention, everybody. So we are talking about time period and supply. Time period and supply. Pay attention, everybody. Okay, pay attention, everybody. Very short period. My dear friends, very short period is a time. See, first of all, there is no months. There is no fixed time like it will be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. No, nothing like that. So pay attention, everyone. My dear friends, very short period is a time period. Very short period is a time period where very short period is a time period where there is no impact on quantity supplied. Where there is no impact on quantity supplied. So quantity supplied does not change at all. Quantity supplied doesn't change at all. Sir, can you give an example? Yes. Suppose I am a manufacturer of chips. Now you have given me order of 500 packets of chips 1 year back. Okay, 1 year back you gave me an order of 500 packets of chips. Okay. Now friends, what happens is you gave me an order of 500 packets of chips, let's say I supplied it to you. Now you come to me to collect that 500 packets, and now you are telling me within next 30 minutes you will need another 500 packets. Obviously it's not possible. No matter how many men and machinery I employ, it is not possible. It is not possible. So therefore in this time period there can be no change in supply. There can be no change in supply, and that's very short period for you everybody. That's very short period for you everybody. Okay, that's the meaning of very short period. Moving on, friends. Now, sir, please talk to us about short period. What is short period, sir? Short period, my dear friends, is a time period where there are two types of factors of production. It will be useful in production as well, so pay attention. One which is called the variable factors, one which is called the fixed factor. Sir, what do you mean? Let's say machine. Machine you cannot increase in short period, so machine is a fixed factor. But you can employ more of raw material, or you can employ more of labor, that is a variable factor. So short period is a time period where there can be some change in supply. Yes, you've heard it correct. There can be some change in supply. सप्लाई में कुछ बदलाव, थोड़ा थोड़ा बदलाव सप्लाई में हो सकता है. सप्लाई में थोड़ा थोड़ा बदलाव हो सकता है. Why? Because some factors are fixed and some are variable. So what I can do is, for example, I can ask the labor to work for me 2 to 3 days overtime. So see, supply could be increased to some extent. Suppose you ask me for another 500 packets of chips in the next 7 days. Last time I needed a month. This time you have given me 7 days. What I can do is I can hire more labor for temporary work. I can ask the existing worker to work overtime. Yes. So that's short period. But you see, in this 7 days period, I cannot buy a new machine. I cannot place a new machine. I cannot install a new machine. So therefore, there are some factors which are fixed, while some factors of production are variable. So there can be some change in supply. There can be some change in supply, not entirely, but some definitely. But some definitely. Moving on. Sir, what do you mean by long period? Sir, what do you mean by long period? Dear friends, long period is a point of time where all the factors of production become variable. Where all the factors of production become what? Where all the factors of production become variable. So basically, you can increase machines as well as increase labor. For example, you've given me 7 months time to give you another 1000 chips. Now it's cool with me. I can hire more of labor. I can hire more of machines. So here machines have also become a variable factor. So there in long period, there can be any change in supply possible. Any change in supply is possible as much as you want. There can be any change in supply. As many machines you want, you can buy. As you wish, you can do. As you wish, you can do. There it is, guys. There it is, guys, for every one of you. And then, friends, moving on to the secular or market period. Now, dear friends, moving on to the secular or market period. Moving on to the secular or market period. All right. So let's have a discussion on what this looks like exactly. What this looks like exactly. Okay. So secular or market period. My dear friends, it's a time period. It will be interesting for you to note down. It's a time period where there can be change, and there can be any change in the market dynamics. It's a time period where the market has changed. I'll give you an example. Suppose 20 years back, there was 20 years back. Pay attention, everyone. 20 years back, smartphones were not much in supply, and in phones there were phones in supply, but the demand for phones was also limited, and the supply of phones was also limited. But today the supply of phones has changed completely because the market dynamics have changed completely. Secular period is a period where the market dynamics have completely changed. I mean, the nature of market has completely changed. Complete change in the nature of market. It's a time period where there is complete change in the nature of market, my dear friends. There's a complete change in the nature of market, my dear friends. The nature of market has changed completely. Okay, is that so, sir? Yes, that is so. let's say 5 to 10 years back, you see 5 to 6 years back, you know, pre-COVID period, there was not much demand for web cameras. But today, since everybody is working for online education and online of, so the market has changed completely. Now everybody is buying webcams, so the supply of webcams have increased. So this is, you know, the secular market change looks at the entire change in trade cycles and market trends. Understood? It looks at that. Okay, so there it is. There it is, my dear friends. There it is. Friends, I'll want you to know one or more few things, but before that I'll need a confirmation whether this 4 types of time period is clear. Okay, I'll summarize this whole topic again in Hindi and English. हिंदी में पहले बात करते हैं. 4 तरीके का समय होता है, वेरी शॉर्ट, शॉर्ट, लॉन्ग, वेरी लॉन्ग. वेरी शॉर्ट समय वो है दोस्तों जहां पर आप सप्लाई को बिल्कुल भी बदल नहीं सकते. शॉर्ट पीरियड में आप सप्लाई को कुछ हद तक बदल सकते हो क्योंकि आपके पास जो प्रोडक्शन फैक्टर्स है कुछ फिक्स्ड है और कुछ वेरिएबल है. लॉन्ग पीरियड एक ऐसा समय है दोस्तों जहां पर सारे फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन वेरिएबल है. ठीक है कि नहीं है? सारे फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन वेरिएबल है, तो आप सप्लाई जितना चाहो आप बदल सकते हो. सेक्युलर ये मार्केट पीरियड वो पीरियड है दोस्तों जहां पर पूरा का पूरा मार्केट डायनामिक्स बदल जाता है. पूरी की पूरी मार्केट का जो नेचर है वो बदल जाता है. जिस तरीके के गुड्स डिमांड हो रहे हैं या सप्लाई हो रहे हैं मार्केट के दरमियान, वो पूरी तरह से बदल जाते हैं. क्लियर है? नाउ इन इंग्लिश वंस अगेन. Very short period is a time period where there is no change in supply. Short period is a time period where some change in supply is observed. Long period is a time period where any change in supply can take place, while secular market period is a time period where the entire market dynamics change. Where the entire market dynamics change. Where there are entire market dynamics change. Okay? Yes, sir. Very, very good. Very, very good. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, my dear friends, one last topic that I need you all to know. More of this I'll talk in our upcoming class. More of this we will talk about in the upcoming class, but please pay attention, okay? The name of the topic is elasticity of supply. The name of the topic is elasticity of supply. So pay attention, everyone. Elasticity of supply basically means percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. So it talks about percentage change in quantity supplied by percentage change in price. Sir, it is too much like, you know, demand. Exactly, the percentage method. Exactly, you are absolutely correct. So here also you say the same thing. Here also you say the same thing. Here also you change the entire same thing. Yes, Kayast, you are correct. Pay attention. Elasticity of supply is percentage change in quantity supplied by percentage change in price. What does it mean, sir? What does it mean, sir? What it means is, my dear friends, pay attention, everyone. It tells us that if price changes by 1%, by what percent will quantity supply change? By what percent will quantity supply change? This is what it exactly talks about. This is what the entire question talks about. If price changes by what 1%, by what percent will quantity supply change? I'll give you an example to explain it even better. Okay, let's say, my dear friends, original price was for a commodity 10 rupees. Now the price has increased to, let's say, 14 rupees. At 10 rupees price, quantity supplied was, let's say, 80 units. Okay, but friends, what has happened is now the quantity supplied, because of the 80 units, okay, by mistake I have written rupee, it's 80 units. Now the quantity supplied has risen and it has become 100 units because of the rise in price. So friends, what is happening? Yes, there is a change in price. By how much is the price rising? It's rising by rupees 4. By how much is the price rising? It's rising by rupees 4. By how much is the quantity changing? It's rising by 20 units. Guys, since there is a direct relationship here, elasticity of supply will generally come to be positive. Unlike demand, where elasticity of price, elasticity of demand would be negative. because of inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Here elasticity of supply will generally be positive because of direct relationship or positive relationship between price and quantity supplied, because of direct or positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. Okay, so sir, could you explain? Yes, I can. Pay attention everyone. Percentage change in price is equals to, what is the original price? 4. What is the original, what is the change in price? 4. What is the original price? 10. To convert it into percent, you multiply 100. So percentage change in price is 40%. Okay. Now the next question is, what is the percentage change in quantity? So it has increased by 20 units, friends. Okay. And what was the original quantity, friends? It was 80 units. Okay. Into 100. So if you solve it, friends, it's 25%. Okay. So now everybody pay attention. What will be elasticity of supply? Percentage change in quantity by percentage change in price. Remember, quantity always upward, price always downward. So quantity is 25% and price is 40%. Obviously percent gone. 25 by 40. So basically 558. So 5 by 8. It's giving us some value of the nature of 0.6. I think exact value you can compute, but it's 0.6. It's around 0.6. Okay, so it's around 0.6 because percentage change in quantity supplied by percentage change in price. So what does it mean, friends? It means that for every 1% rise in price, quantity supplied will also rise by 0.6%. Similarly, for every 1% fall in price, pay attention friends, quantity supplied will also fall by 0.6% is what they are saying. Whatever it is, it can be 0.625. I am not bothered about that. What I'm bothered about is how it's calculated. Okay. Yes. Guys, one MCQ question for the day. One more MCQ question for the day, and it might be the last question, everybody. So pay attention, everybody. Pay attention, everybody. Pay attention, everybody. Pay attention, everybody. Price of bags have risen from 800 to 1000 rupees, because of which quantity supplied has risen from 500 to 600 units. Compute elasticity of supply. Every one of you needs to do it. I'll remind you the formula. Elasticity of supply is percentage change in quantity supplied by percentage change in price. Come on everybody, this is my hint to you all. I am not giving you any options today. I want you all to do it. Come on everyone. Let's see, what are your answers? Okay, very good. So yes, I seem to be, getting correct answers, but I'll explain you everything. See, original price, let's jot down the data. Original price was 800 and now the new price is 1000. Original quantity was 500 and the new quantity is 600. So what is percentage change in price? It is 200 by 800 into 100. That is 25%. Okay. But now what is the percentage change in quantity? It's changing by 100. What was the original? 500 into 100. It's 20%. It's 20%. So percentage change in quantity by percentage change in price. So elasticity of supply is 20%, my dear friends, by 25%. Percent gone. Percent gone. So when you cut it, my dear friends, what do you get? 4 by 5, that is equal to 0.8, which is absolutely correct answer. Okay guys, one more last question for MCQ that I need to ask. Why is elasticity of supply always coming positive? What do you think is the, guys? I am not giving answer. I am not giving you any options. Come on, everybody, try it out on your own. Always remember supply quantity above, price below. Otherwise, it will be a mistake if you do the opposite. Quantity above, price below. Okay. So why is elasticity 0.8? Okay, and don't put any percent sign in front of elasticity. Elasticity doesn't have any unit. It's 0.8 only. No percent, no units as such. Understood? So yes, why is it elasticity of supply positive? Very good answer, everyone. Because of direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. That is, if one rises, the other will rise. What is stated by the law of supply? What is stated by the law of supply? So my dear friends, that's pretty much it from the supply part for today from my part. See you all in the next class, everybody. Goodbye everyone for the day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye bye.